Hey there friends, I'm doing the Take 5 Art Challenge and I was inspired by Leanne at Creatively Free to Be Me. I have linked Leanne's channel in the title of this video. The prompts this month were stamps, texture paste, scribbles, stencils, and flowers. I have a texture stamp and some Tim Holtz Distress ink. It's in a turquoise color. It's really pretty. I love the color. I'm working on a 11 by 14 piece of 80-pound drawing paper. Someone kindly gave me just reams of drawing paper. So on the back of this drawing paper is a sketch, a pencil sketch of a tree that the person who gave me the paper did. So I finished the stamping part of the challenge. The next prompt is scribbles. And for me, I love doing life spirals. I find them soothing, I find them comforting, I find them nearly meditative to play with. So I'm just taking a plain ballpoint pen and doing some quick little life spirals there. I love doing them. It's a lot of fun, very soothing. So I'm just kind of filling up the blank spaces with some life spirals. No, nothing fancy there. It's almost hard to stop though. Just want to keep doing it and doing it. I'm going to cut the 11 by 14 paper, and I'm going to cut that into, I think I do 5.5 by 6.5 cards. I can't remember exactly the dimensions, and I'm downstairs and all that is upstairs. So I'm using my handy dandy paper cutter to cut the paper up. I love starting with a big piece of paper and then whacking, doing some art and then cutting that big piece of paper into smaller units to work with. I love making things for my flow journals, and I think it is a lot of fun this challenge kind of does two things. It gives me an art project, and it also gives me something to put into my flow journals. So it's a win-win-win. I do not do a lot of art challenges, but I have promised myself that I am going to do more. The premise for the Take 5 Art Challenge was to get people out of their box. Get you out of the norm, get you out of your comfort zone, and experiment with things that maybe you don't experiment with, just exactly like texture paste. I don't do a lot with texture paste. I love it. I use stencils a whole lot when I do my inky papers, but I rarely use a stencil outside of inky papers and sprays. So this gave me an opportunity to work with texture paste, and this time it's real texture paste. In the past, when I have worked with texture paste, I've just used a homemade texture paste. Jennibellie has a great recipe for making homemade molding paste or texture paste or whatever you call it. But in this case, my sweet friend Joy gave me the real deal, and I'm really enjoying using this fresh tube of texture paste. My stencil has flowers on it, so that was the flower part of the challenge, and of course the stencil is a stencil. So technically I have fulfilled the challenge at this point. I've used stamps, texture paste, scribbles, stencils, and flowers. I really love this stencil because it's an adhesive stencil, so it was really sticking to those papers, and that was kind of fun. I emptied my hole punch, and there was just something about all those little circles with all those different colors and textures, and that I just couldn't throw away. So I thought, well, that would be kind of maybe a cool thing to add a little texture and dimension to these cards. So what I'm doing here is I've got my little bowl of hole punch circles, and I am just adding them to the cards with a bit of Mod Podge, and it turns into a giant sticky mess, but that's okay. I end up Mod Podging all the circles to the bowl, and then I have to throw the whole bowl away, but I was committed to using those circles, as many as possible. In her Take 5 art challenge, Leanne used these tiny little Prima flowers that her auntie had given her, and I love them. I thought they turned out so well. So this is kind of my attempt at, you know, some texture and something a little bit different on these cards. Leanne said that life is too short to plan your art, and this is this is completely not planned at all. And I only had like a very few minutes to even do anything. I'm really busy with my journals and with my other work, so it was like something that that I didn't have a lot of time to do. But honestly, that kind of works best sometimes when you don't have a whole lot of time to devote to something. And I'm really committed to doing more of these art challenges. I get away from like personal art when I'm doing my my flow journals, which to me are my flow journals. I get lost in them. I get lost in the ephemera. I get lost in the story, and it's fun to kind of just revisit something that you know, that brought me to those journals in the first place, because mixed media really did that. And it's fun to kind of, it's fun to get messy with art. It's fun to put a brush in your hand and just play. And I love to make things for my journals. So this, like I said a while ago, this kind of worked out. 2 birds, 1 stone. Awesome. I have to dry all this, and I'm sorry that you have to sit through watching me dry, but I realized that anything that I did on top of those circles, the circles were going to pop off. And so I tried to dry them as much as possible. So my next layer of whatever I decide to do, which I think is going to be some gesso, just put some gesso over them and see how that works out. So out comes the gesso. I'm gessoing over the little dots. Never discount your dots, y'all. Use them for something. It's crazy. I could not throw those things away, y'all. It's like, oh, they're so cool. They're so uniform and pretty. So there we go, using some gesso to just kind of gesso over those. You can't see a whole lot at this point. I've got white gesso going on. I've got white texture paste going on. You can see the distress ink through there. Honestly, I like it just like this. I mean, I kind of think that it would have been good to stop right here. But I was into it, and I just wanted to create as many layers and colors as possible. So I go for some sprays. I wanted to keep everything very light, and I'm using some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist Golden. So I'm just spraying a little bit on these. And you can kind of see the texture paste and the stenciling coming out, which is very nice. Uh-oh. And then I hit a snag. So I switched to another bottle, and this time just a silvery glimmer mist, which was really pretty. And I'm liking it. And then I pick up some Tattered Angels. This is like a coffee color, and Okay, so, you know, did I ruin it? Can I save it? This is all part of art. This is part of the experiment. I'm not quite getting the results that I want, but I am undaunted, and I'm going to see what I can do to kind of salvage this piece. I am completely out of my element, which is what an art challenge is all about, isn't it? It was hard not to just turn off the camera and go, well, this is just not going to work. You know, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't like the way this is turning out. But, you know, I persevered. And I decided that I would dry the pieces. And drying really did help. It lightened the dark coffee spray that I used. And it brought out the whole glimmer and glitter of the Tattered Angel spray. So I was kind of, you know, was liking it. I had 3 that I was uncertain about, and 3 that I really did like. Trying to decide what to do. I'm thinking about not finishing the 3 that I put the coffee stain on. I'm thinking that maybe I can do some stamping on it. And then I decide to just ditch that. I don't like them, so I'm cutting them in half, and I'll use them in a different way. I try to do some stamping on them, and that does not work. I love the stamps. They're number stamps, and they're circle number stamps. They look like they look like a, you know, typewriter stamps. But as I work with the, and this is a dye ink pad, which I don't use very often, but you can see that it's not coming out exactly the way that I might want, you know, but, and then I decide to go with the ombre inks and see if that helps. And not really, but, you know, we're gonna see what we can do anyway. So I'm kind of just carrying on. I'm not really sure what I want to do at this point. I have some stamps. This one says "Be Free," and I really do love it. And that looks pretty good on that one. So I'm going to use that again. Now this is on one of the cards that I'm not so fond of. And then I tried to put some oh, a flower. Yeah, I had a flower stamp that I put on there too. I want to use the Believe part of the Believe in Angels stamp. I really do like that. So that turns out okay. Same thing. Okay. Pretty happy with that. And I've got one more stamp that I'm thinking about trying. And then I think I decide not to, yeah, I decide not to do that. I'm just going to leave it at the Believe. I'm inking the edges of the cards. I think that gives everything, you know, a little more finished kind of look. So long story short, y'all, it's, I need to do more art challenges because I need to develop more skills and I need to have fun with my art. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you, Leanne, for all of your inspiration. And thank you guys for watching. And I hope you'll try some